Hello everybody, my name's Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy Artist. Cheers! And today we're going live to teach you how to paint this beautiful faith butterfly. So we've been doing Christmas just about every day, so we thought we'd take a little break and do something just a little bit different. So I want to make sure you can all see this. We're making a little adjustment here. Okay, so we've got our model in the back all loaded up, and then we've got the traceable all ready to go here. And so let me talk about that a little bit. This comes with your paint kit. We make it really fun and easy. So we've got the transfer paper. You always want to make sure you have the dull gray side that faces up, and then you want to make sure that you have the shiny side that's a little bit darker that faces the canvas. Hello everybody! Welcome, welcome. Hope y'all are having a beautiful day. It's kind of cloudy today, but you know, I kind of like those days sometimes. They're kind of nice. All right, so let's see here. We have our traceable done. We have a colored pencil that comes in your kit. So I went ahead and traced around all of that. And then this just helps you see it really well so that you know every single line that you've already made, so it makes it a lot easier on you. And then I'm going to go ahead and lift this off. I've worked ahead so you can see all the work that I've done. It looks like a pencil transfer to begin with, so because it's graphite paper that makes the impression. So it's really light, so you can either leave it like that as an option, or we do provide a permanent marker for you as well so that you can go ahead and have that nice hard line. So beginners love this. It definitely bleeds through the paint, but that's actually something that beginners really love. It kind of helps keep your tracing in place so you never lose your shape. So really helpful with that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get started with all of our painting. And of course we have a really beautiful kit that comes with your little paint kit there, that comes with your entire kit, everything that you need. And I went ahead, I've got a little bit of a start here. I've got a lot of my titanium white and Mars black to start with. I've got that out. So we're going to start with that. We're going to do all of our background. Your kit comes with these 3 brushes. This is your mama brush. And then we have a little buddy. And then we have little bit. All right, we're going to start with a really big brush first. If you're using the kit, we're going to go ahead and start with our mama brush. And then on our website, we also sell Big Daddy brushes. So I'm going to use one of those too. We're going to be sweeping this color in through the background. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up a nice big dollop of the white. Start really small with the black. So just barely touch into that black, just a super tiny amount. And let's mix that together. And this will give us just a super, super light gray. It's kind of like what they call sometimes a heather gray. So just very little amount there. And then we're going to go ahead and start to sweep this through the background. And I mentioned earlier that having all the line work done is really helpful. And here is why. So I can go ahead and just sweep this back and forth in a nice vertical pattern that matches that wood grain. So it's like an old distressed wood, like shiplap in the background. But I'm going to go ahead and just paint right through this. And then what's going to happen is all of our line work will bleed through. So it's very helpful. Now another option that you can do at home is, since you are not under any time constraints with filming live, you can actually just paint your entire background, let it set up and dry, then you can take your traceable and do that right over the top. So that's also another option too. Really easy. Because I don't want y'all to sit here and watch me let paint dry. That's kind of not very fun to watch. So I just go ahead and do all of my Sharpie work, and then I know it bleeds through, and then I just paint right through it. So this will just go back and forth. And then let me show you something else too. So I'm going to add just a tiny amount of water. If you're working with water at home, then you want to make sure and hold it to the flat side, and that way you won't have any water runs, and you can run that right through. And that helps your paint become very fluid. So that's something else that's really helpful. And I'm going to go ahead and turn mine back so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to continue just working this in. And sometimes I think this looks a little scary at first, like, oh my goodness, everything's getting covered. But you'll notice that as the paint dries, it will become a little bit more translucent, and all of that tracing that you did at the beginning will all start to peek through it. All right, so again, just grabbing bigger dollops of the white and continuing to touch just a tiny amount of black into that to mix up that light heather gray. And then we'll just sweep this back and forth in a vertical pattern here, just up and down. And see, it was dry brushing just a little bit up at the top, losing that coverage. So again, you can add a little bit of water and sweep that through. And we'll take this all the way across. Again, this is titanium white and then just a little tiny touch of the Mars black. And hello to everybody out there. I see lots of people. If you leave a comment or have any questions, I always answer those, so just let me know. Sometimes I can't see them all when I'm painting though, but I promise I always come back and check later. All right, still pushing in big amounts of the titanium white. And then again, just barely touch into the black. Just a very little bit goes a long way. We'll take this all the way through. Just adding just a touch of water just to make sure that all the paint is very fluid and has a nice soft blend right over the top. All right, so we have a really good foundation now, and I think a lot of you can see that all that line work definitely starts to peek through. Sure that stays in frame. I'm going to go ahead and remove my tracing paper. All right. And then one other note too is if you do order a painting kit from us, your canvas, I always use these since I do so many paintings, but your canvas always has some depth to it, so it's always ready to hang. So hello, Kirsty. Hi from the UK. That's awesome. Welcome, welcome. All right, so now it is time to start painting into our beautiful shape here. We're going to mix up some turquoise. So this is going to be really pretty. So I still have a lot of white nearby, so now I just need some primary cyan blue. Let's get a look at that. I'm going to remove the little foil top. And we'll do just a little dollop there of that. And then let's add some bright yellow green. All right, so this is bright yellow green. All right, so let's get a visual on that. Okay, so we've got about 2 equal parts there, and then lots of our extra white from beginning. So we've got Mama Brush, that's what we'll use. She's a 1/2 inch flat. We're gonna go ahead and mix these two together first. And then let's start adding a lot more of that white. That's super pretty. All right, so there is our turquoise. It popped out immediately with adding a little bit of that titanium white to it. And then I'm going to start to go ahead and paint into this butterfly shape. All right, so initially what I want to check for is I've got Mama brush ready to go. I'm going to apply some firm pressure. So the belly of the brush is loaded up with paint, but then I'm checking to make sure I still have a thin line edge. This will help me do the shape around the edge. So it just helps me have a little bit more control as I work in that first shape there. Let's do this one on this side. Got a little bit of a wiggle to it. And come back around this way. All right, so now we can go ahead and paint into the wings. So now I'm going to go ahead and just turn this handle more over to the side, and this will help fill in that shape. Now initially I was pretty loose and carefree with that sweeping through of that background color, but now that we're getting into more of the details, I'm going to be careful to avoid those details and make sure we preserve the shapes there. We don't want to lose our word or our heart. The rest of it, even if that doesn't quite bleed through, I can go ahead and just rework that right over the top too. So still working in our turquoise here. I want to go ahead and switch over to a smaller brush just to preserve what we've already got here. So I need to find my little bit brush here. I'm going to do a little twist into that blue, and then we're going to go ahead and work around our little H here. So just some delicate cut-in work now. Coming in around those details. And with your little bit brush, a little trick here too, you can load it up by twisting the head of the brush into the paint and then rotate that brush into a nice fine point. We're still just cutting in around that delicate lettering. It's looking good. Got a little bit of a peekaboo there with the turquoise. And we're going to continue to work this into those smaller sections. So that's the end of that little heart. And then once we get these small areas done, then we can go back to our larger brush and then start to feather out those brush strokes and work that into the larger area. Alright, so we've got this area worked in here, and then this side worked in, and then the rest of that should be just the heart and the lettering in the middle. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my little bit brush here, and we're going to go back to our mama brush. See how she's doing. Rinse her out just a little bit. Got a rag nearby. Go ahead and take a little bit more of this turquoise, and then let's just feather this out. Do a little bit of a crisscross stroke. That gives you good coverage over the canvas. So you're going to turn that handle more over to the side. And then that will give you a more opaque finish. And just keep filling this in. Again, we're still using our mama brush. She's a 1/2 inch flat. Taklon, golden Taklon, very nice and firm quality to the brush. And I want to make sure and turn that handle over to the side, and little crisscross strokes just back and forth. Beautiful. Okay. So now we're going to work in a few of our little roses now. We're going to get those set up to begin with. Washing off my mama. Dry her off. Let's put her over to the side. And let's start to mix up some bright colors for our rose. All right, so to begin with, I would like to use some primary magenta. And then do a little touch of the white nearby. And then let's add a little bit of that white to that primary magenta. Let's lighten it up. So we're making a really pretty light pink. And then initially with all of these roses, we just want to keep them really light and just get some flat color over the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm using Little Buddy. It's a 1/4 inch flat brush. And I'm going to go ahead and circle this in. So I press, and then the bristles kind of spin out to each side. Makes a little half circle to each side. So every rose initially just has a nice sweep of color over the top. And so they're going to look like little lumpy circles to begin with. All right, so we've got a nice finish over the top of our little roses. All right, next up, we want to go ahead and work in that little heart in the middle. So with that, so we have some of our primary magenta still loaded up. Now I'm going to add a little bit of some cadmium red. All right, so here's cadmium red. It's a really warm red, so I want to cool it off just a little bit. And we'll cool it off by adding some of that cool magenta to it, that primary magenta that we still had on our plate. So let's grab Little Buddy again. I just rinsed off, dried off. Now we're going to grab all of that, just pure dark magenta, mix that in, and that just makes a really pretty cool red. All right, so that's very nice. And then I'm going to use Little Buddy as much as I can, but I'm going to have to switch to my little bit pretty quick because this is really tiny in here. Lots of little details. But I'll sweep in some of that paint as much as I can get in there. All right, so let's put little buddy back in the water. Thank you so much. I love the little heart. All right, so now let's go to our little bit brush. Let's do a little twist into the paint. So that will load up the belly of the brush, but also twist the end into a nice fine point. So it makes it a lot easier to use in these tiny little areas here. And we're going to work in the tiny little details of this red, still making sure that we see our lettering in there. It bled through. That was definitely the intention with that, so we wouldn't lose it. And we'll just kind of cut in all around it. Now, other options you can do with your paint kits at home, and yeah, it is, yeah, I forgot to adjust that. Sorry about that. My teenage son did finally teach me how to go back in. It's kind of a challenge to get into Facebook and do that. I don't know that I can do that now or not. Let's see. Maybe. Oh, tools. Wow, there it is. Thank you, teenage son. Okay, so I hope everybody can still see me because I can't see any comments now, but yeah. My son is Hawkins, and he knows how to do everything on Facebook, and not even really having to try. He just looks at it one time and figures it all out instantly. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and paint in here around the letters. So the word will say faith. A little bit in here. All right, so we'll see how it looks here in a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and, I'm gonna go ahead and feather this out just a little bit with that red. And then I'll come in and firm up those letters too, and then we'll come back and touch up any more additional red that we have to do too. And let's get a little bit more in here. All right, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse out my little bit brush, and then let's go back in with just pure black and go ahead and do that lettering. And you want to make sure you squeegee out any of the excess water so that you don't get any water runs. Or you can also just turn your canvas flat, and then that way you won't have to worry about water runs that way either. All right, so I'm gonna dip into the black, and we're just working in the fine details of our lettering now. And then that will start to emerge. It will say faith. It's coming along. And so this is my little bit brush in the kit. It's just a little liner brush. little slant at the very bottom. And a little H. Oops. There's my little puppy dog. Alrighty, so we're getting there, and I'll have to fill in, I think, with a little bit more red here in a minute, but we're gonna let that black all set up and dry. And then I'm gonna come back in with a little ornate antenna here in the center. So again, a little bit, and just do a little twist into the black paint. Let's just twirl that around in a nice little curve. Circle that back around. I like this one. Switching brushes here. All right, another little bit brush that I've got. Whoops, I'm going off. I'm not used to having the camera go this direction, so I'm going off frame. So I'm going backwards. What feels like one direction to me is actually the other direction. All right, so here we go. That way. Okay. And then we'll spin this back around here. And then we'll come in on the other side. Just hold the brush like you'd hold a pencil, which is a nice natural hold. We're accustomed to holding the brush that way. This will help you get a nice, precise amount of movement to get into these little details here. And then let's go ahead and start to work on some of our little feathers. So we need to mix up some brown. So with our kit here, we're going to be using some of the cadmium orange. And then a little bit of black with the cadmium orange. Make sure you can see everything. Okay, so I'm going to mix with Little Buddy, and then we're going to grab a little bit of our black, just a tiny amount, and add this with our cadmium orange. And so that will start to make a brown right away. And you can add more black, make more of like a teak brown, or you can leave it more of a light brown just by keeping more orange in it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some brown stripes here. So what's nice about this brush is the flat side can work into a stripe this way, or if you need to make it thinner, you can see it's really thin on the edge, and that can go right into that shape as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch to a smaller brush so we can get into those little details. So we have our little bit brush, and we're going to do a little spin into that brown. And we're going to just make little tiny wispies that go like this. And again, you can add just a tiny amount of water to this too to make it a little bit more fluid. And then just remember the little bit of caution to go ahead and place your canvas flat. That way you won't get a water run. Just tiny little lines. Thin little wispies up here at the top. Now I'm going to show you that's actually what a water run looks like. So I have to be vertical, but I'm going to do a little quick dab that'll lift it right off. That's what you don't want to happen. But again, if it's flat, you don't have to worry about that. So again, little thin wispies. And then we'll do our diagonal strokes down on each side for the pattern. Right, beautiful. All right, now we need to mix up just a little bit of some green so we can work in our little leaves up at the top. All right, so let's grab some cadmium green. And then let's go back in with a little bit of that bright yellow green, and we'll mix those two together. All right, so bright yellow green and our cadmium green, we're gonna mix those two together. Still using our little bit brush, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little twist here into the paint. One little thin line, and then tiny little leaf shapes. It feels like you make a parentheses and then another parentheses. I'll show you on the plate. So here we go, little parentheses, another little parentheses, and then go ahead and fill in. So these are really tiny up here. And a few little tiny leaves here. And then one more here off to the side. All right, really nice. Let's go ahead and rinse out. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and work in details of the rose right over the top. So we're gonna come back in with our little bit brush now and just pure white paint. So I'm gonna dip in, and then we're gonna make just little half circles and work those in a circular pattern all over the top. It's a real simple little rose. And if you have a little bit of that wet paint behind there, it's gonna blend a little bit with your white, and that's actually a really nice look. But again, just little half circles, and you can add a little wiggle to your hand too. And then we'll come in with a second pattern here in just a little bit. All right, so again, this is the first pattern, first layer. And then now we're going to come in with the darkest color. So still using our little bit brush, but now we're going to come in with some red. So a little touch into the red, and we're going to make what almost looks like a little tiny comma right in the center, and there's our little shadow. And then I'll just follow up with a few more of that same shape. It's like a little half circle, and that will also softly blend with that white. Just gives a little bit of a shadow to it. So again, a little comma, and then a few more little half circles. And now that I've got my brush loaded up with a little bit more white, I'm going to go back into our heart and make sure that we've got enough red coming in around the edge here. Help fill that in. And do a little crisscross stroke. That's a nice texture to help feather in those brush strokes. So again, it kind of feels like you make a little X just back and forth. All right, so that is looking really good. All right, so now we can start to make some details on our butterfly now. All right, so we're going to take a little bit brush again, and we're going to mix up some dark charcoal gray. So a little bit of black, a little bit of white, and let's just mix those two together and do a little twist into that color. So I'm going to twist it between my fingertips. Again, that loads it up, but it also spins it into a nice fine point. So I'm going to go ahead and do a nice little soft outline. Just a little sketch here. And same thing here on the other side. And connect to the bottom here. All right, then we can do some accents on the top. We're gonna switch colors here. So I'm gonna still use my little bit brush, but now we're going to come in with some white. So just some pure white paint right over the top. And we'll take this and do a nice big swirl. And then whatever we do on one side, we're gonna do on the other side. And we'll do that again. So again, just a nice curved line. Just kind of almost take it into a circle. And then we'll continue doing this down the length of the butterfly. Same thing here on the other side. Just fun little pattern. All right, then we need to do some little circles. So I'm going to use a bigger brush, and you can use the mama brush for this. I'm going to go ahead and use the handle, and we're going to dip into some white paint, and then we'll just press straight forward, and this will give us a fun little polka dot pattern around the edge. If you don't quite get as much paint as you would on there the first time, you can always just re-dot. Do a few more here on the inside. All right, it's looking really good. All right, now we can come in with our little bit brush again, and we're just going to make a few little accents with some charcoal gray. So a little bit of white, a little bit of black. Let's mix those two together again. And we're just gonna make some curved lines that are little accents here in the center. Go ahead and reinforce this little center right into there. Just light sketches with this charcoal gray. So we're getting some really nice little detail that's filling in. All right, now we're going to come in with just a little bit of white in those little feathers. So it's an option. You can leave it just as it is, or you can come back in with a little bit of that lighter white, or you can make this a super, super light heather gray color too. But my little bit brush is what I'm using here. I'm going to go and twist into it. And just add a little light accent here in the center of these little feathers. All right, I'm going to come back in with just a little bit of black. and just touch up any black lines I need to just help redefine. Just little tiny accents right through the center again. Anything that the white may have came back in and covered up when we were filling back in. So we'll just reinforce our little touches of black. Little feathering strokes. A little bit of a curve to it, light hand. So that is the detail work with our feathers. And then we have that shiplap line that comes through, and that actually looks like a nice faint line that you could actually just leave just the way it is if you want. Or if you do want to help kind of make it pop out to the front again, then I would use the longest line brush that you have. So that would be your mama. So it's got a nice long line there to use. And we want to keep that line subtle, so we're going to go ahead and come in with some white and then a little bit of black. So a dark charcoal gray, and we want to have firm pressure here. That loads it up, but see, now we have that really nice, get that going in the right direction, nice thin line. And then you can just follow the line that's already there. That makes that pop out again. It's a little bit easier to pull down, and the lines don't have to be real perfect because this is old, weathered, worn shiplap. Right. Okay. Looks like we are all done. It's been our beautiful Faith butterfly. We have this posted on our website, tipsyartist.com. You can get the kit. It has everything that you need. Makes a beautiful gift for Christmas. But thank you so much for joining us today. We've had a wonderful time with y'all, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Y'all have a great day. And now I have to figure out how to turn this off. Oh boy. I changed it so that my son would be proud of me because I learned how to invert it, but now I can't figure out how to get back how to end it. And he's not here right now to help me end it, so this could be interesting. Oh boy. I found it! Yay! Okay, so now I'll see y'all later. Y'all have a great day. Toodles!